guys, I want to speak to you about the supermoon and the solar eclipse that happened yesterday because the effects were really significant and I noticed them firsthand. So I just want to give you the kind of astrological meanings behind it. First thing about this whole thing yesterday was that it was a supermoon. Supermoon is when the moon looks bigger than usual. So the way the moon moves around the earth, sometimes it's nearer, sometimes it's further away. And yesterday was one of those times when it was nearer and it looked about 7 to 8% bigger. I was in the town last night at around 7 in the evening and I saw it just come up over the horizon and it looked amazing. It was huge. It was champagne-y, orangey, and it was just massive. It looked so great. So it was a full moon, obviously, and a full moon is a period of culmination, coming to a completion point. And when there's a full moon, it kind of exudes its energy onto all of us. That's why we feel the full moon. That's why sometimes it's a little bit uneasy. And this full moon was in Aries, the sign of the ram. And a full moon in Aries is about asserting yourself. It's about looking at what your desires are, the way you want to move forward rather than someone else. And it was also in the first house of self. So a lot of people became very, very self-conscious and conscious of their own needs, of their own desires in situations. The other thing that happened was that it was a lunar eclipse. So the moon went dark, it was covered for a period, and if you think about it, that is almost like a new moon, because when there's a new moon, the moon is completely black and you don't see it at all. When there is an eclipse like the one yesterday, and the moon is covered, it goes black and you can't see it. So what that does is it creates the same sort of energy. It goes from this full moon blossoming, kind of spreading things out, and it moves into pulling energy in. So it's outward and then it's inward. It's foot on the gas pedal and then foot on the brake. And that's why this full moon in particular, and this eclipse specifically, would have felt very uncomfortable. The energy itself is quite masculine, fiery with Aries, so that being pushed out there, fine, that's great, that'll make people quite strong and powerful, but then it being pulled back, pulling that ram-like energy back in, is going to feel uncomfortable. So I don't know about you, but I noticed a lot of conflict yesterday, a lot of people acting quite almost hysterically, over the top, overreactions, all of those sorts of things. That was interesting, but the other thing that plays into this is that, like I already said, the moon is in the first house of self in Aries, but the sun is in Libra in the 7th house of relationship, and the sun is the source of energy for this full moon because it shines its light on it, and the sun in Libra is all about relationship. Then we've got this eclipse, so the biggest area of conflict yesterday would be for people in relationships who have to ask the question, them or me, or my opinion and my way of doing things, or their way of doing things and looking at things. The amount of couples that I saw arguing yesterday was just unbelievable. I was at a dinner and this couple, they were just arguing about something so trivial like the food or something, and the 30 years worth of stuff came up and it was like a screaming match. It was quite something. And then I went to an evening here. I was going to go to an evening about the eclipse because I was really interested in it. And that was cancelled again because of conflict and major goings on. So if you had those kind of experiences, you're certainly not unique. That's the nature of this eclipse. And there was even more talk about it. You know, it was the last of the blood moons. The last in the series of 4. I did a video on this, I think last year, but there was a kind of prophecy that this was the end of the world, and thank goodness it's not the end of the world, but it kind of correlates with that kind of way of looking at things, because Aries is moving forward. It is the first sign of the Western zodiac because it's based on the seasons, so it's the first sign of spring. So according to astrology, the new year, the sign of the first month. It is about new beginnings. And if you're looking at it, you know, we have the end of the world every year, really, don't we? We had 2012, and then we had loads of other things. There is a human need to have an end of the world. I read I think an article in some psychology journal a while ago, and it was about, it's part of the human condition to need this world to come to an end, because it would give a sense of meaning to what goes on here, because it seems so random. So it's not about wanting the planet to be destroyed or something, but people are used to stories, people want meaning, people want hindsight, people want an answer, and that's why this end of the world thing keeps coming up. There's a need for the narrative to make sense, I think. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but if you look at it from that perspective, Aries is new beginnings. So we have moved out of one cycle, we're moving into another cycle, and you could argue, but yes, we're always moving from one cycle into the next. True, but certain new beginnings really are new beginnings. Certain new beginnings really feel like tremendous changes of direction. And this is going to be one of them, especially when trying to decide your role in a relationship. Am I going to stay in this relationship? Do I have enough say in this relationship? Am I being told what to do in this relationship? Are my needs and values and beliefs shared? Am I listened to? All of those things really came up yesterday, and they will continue to come up, because the effect of an eclipse is when it actually occurs, and it's 3 to 6 months after. So it's an ongoing process of self-discovery, of taking your power back, of asserting yourself and being the person you want to be, in connection, in conjunction with the people in your life. We play certain roles, don't we? If you're someone's child and your life has gone a certain way, people start to tell stories about you. People start to see you a certain way. If you're someone who's 35 and you've had temp jobs all your life and you've been on a journey of discovery, people will say, oh look, there's our son who is a bit of a seeker, someone who's aimless, directionless. People classify you. People put you in boxes so they can make sense of things. If you're an accountant, your family might start to see you as, there's our daughter, the accountant. And that's not who you really are, is it? It's just what you do, or what's been your experience for the last 5 years. If you have a different experience in the next 5 years, you'll be a different person. But this eclipse is about you and the way you see yourself, and what is okay to put up with and what is not okay to put up with. Especially, again, in your intimate personal relationships. And those are really important, because that's ideally where we are most ourselves. So that's it. I hope you found that useful. It was very powerful, amazing. And the more and more I focus on the astrology personally, the more I see its effect in my life. And it's a great thing to be able to navigate your own life with. I mean, I just love it. So have a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you soon. I'm using the Radiant Rider-Waite deck for this reading. Let's see what's coming up. Okay.